I'm not going to sugarcoat the notion that video game adaptations of movies have, at best, a dubious reputation. But The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, that shit was dope. It's a relatively loose retelling of the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers films, with the idea basically being that Aragorn is recapping their journey thus far to Éowyn, all the way up until the Battle of Helm's Deep. It was a pretty concise method to put us in these battle scenes from all the movies, and some battle scenes not from the movies, and possibly some stuff that just never actually happened, because who cares? The game is fun. Hack and slash games generally run the gamble of becoming a bit too repetitive, but this one's still fun enough to keep things moving along, and honestly, it really isn't even long enough for it to lose its luster. Apparently, there are some folks out there who took to calling this game the 2 hours because of how short it is. And yeah, it's pretty short. The genre has continued to thrive with some great high-tier titles like Nier Automata, Final Fantasy 16. You can fight me on that if you want to, but come on.
Come taste my peaches. They're sweet as nectar.
Yeah, boy.
And of course, Devil May Cry, which there is no way I'm not going to talk about that franchise at some point if I keep making stuff. But this game actually only came out a very short while after the first Devil May Cry, so the genre was still pretty young when it came to a 3D space. But you know what? Game's great. I think it's still worth playing. Like everyone else who got this game, I got it as a Christmas gift in 2002, and you best believe I got right to work playing it on our tube TV. It was a little pink because I burned it by leaving The Lion King on Sega Genesis paused for too long. Weren't those the days? So, resuming my journey to regain some or all of the data that I lost on my GameCube memory card, this is The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. To start us off, I hope you really like this song. You're gonna be hearing it a lot, like a lot, a real lot. The game opens just as good as the movies do, with footage from the movies. It pretty much carries us all the way up to the opening battle in Mordor, with Isildur and Elrond taking on Sauron's forces, but something to my knowledge movie games do not do anymore is this.
Kill them all!
I don't know if there's a technical term for this, but transitioning from live action footage into the graphics you'll be experiencing for the duration of the game just touched my heart something fierce. I don't know how to explain it. It is absolutely an artifact of its time. And this goes both ways. We transition to gameplay and we transition out of the CG and into the live action footage at many points throughout this campaign, and it is wonderful every time. For its time, it's actually pretty good. The game is just over 22 years old, so I'm not gonna knock it for using the best footage possible to start this off. We're put into the battle boots of our first playable character, Isildur. We get some flashing prompts in the corner, giving us the general gist of how to play the game and fight through this battle to its inevitable conclusion. And the game wastes absolutely no time using Howard Shore's incredible soundtrack. Man, this music still holds up. These scores are honestly timeless. How timeless are they? These soundtracks are so timeless that about 10 years later, Zack Snyder used them in the trailer for Man of Steel. Remember that? But once the level ends with Sauron's entrance, even the CG tries to emulate shots from the movie. I don't really have a problem with it. The structure of the shots is more emulated than the motion of the shots. Yes, those are two different things, and no, I am not going to go into the dichotomy of that right now. So we slap back to live action and get a cutscene that takes us all the way to Isildur telling Elrond that he's not gonna destroy the ring, he is keeping that bad boy. And we slap back to the console graphics as Isildur's face transforms into that of CG Viggo. The next level skips to pretty much the next action sequence Fellowship of the Ring had. Weathertop. And you know, everybody in the Fellowship pulls a lot of weight over the course of this trilogy, but for one guy to fight off 5 Nazgul is nuts. What's even crazier is that he actually wins. The level is short, but damn, does it feel good. All you really have to do is keep your torch lit by the fire and press the Y button to light these guys up. And the sound design is just so solid and the gameplay feels so good, even if this level is so short. It is most definitely the easiest level in the game and definitely the shortest level in the game. The entire level is just fighting these 5 dudes. That's it. You did it. And now that I'm thinking about it, since the one who stabbed Frodo was the Witch King who cannot be killed by any man, how did he lose this fight? It should have been a shoo-in. He can't die. One of you nerds have got to tell me in the comments how he got this L. How did he lose this? Hold on. I know someone. Let me check with someone. Hey, I have a question. So, when the Witch King stabbed Frodo on Weathertop, you know how they say no man can kill the Witch King? Yeah. How come he didn't just stay there and win that fight? He would have gotten the ring. He would have severed the line by killing Aragorn. Like, it would have been a total and complete win.
Unless he knows that no man can kill him, but a hobbit could, because they're not a man, because Merry hurts him.
Merry hurts him, but he doesn't kill him.
Aragorn being, even though he's a man, he's also kind of more than a man.
That's like saying any elf could kill the Witch King too, because they're not technically quote-unquote man, or like normal mortal men.
I would imagine part of it is also probably the Witch King's own pride in thinking that even if he left that scene, that there was no way that these hobbits and these men were going to defeat him in the end.
The ring was there and he left. He knew it was there and it's the #1 thing that they are looking for. And he was just like, you know what? It's fine. I'll be back. Help me understand.
I also think it was different in the book. So they also might have thought, instead of continuing to fight this battle and potentially getting hurt if they can be hurt, we'll just back off because in a matter of hours, Frodo's going to turn into a wraith and we're going to get him anyways. I mean, that's how a lot of predators operate, even in the natural world, is you strike, you injure it, and then you back off until it gets so weak that it just dies in front of you, and that's what Frodo was going to do.
Oh no, I just feel like everybody dropped the ball.
Well, I mean, everybody dropped the ball, and that's pretty much the plot of the movie. People drop the ball all over, like, here we are.
So we slap back to live action and get a couple of upgrades in the meantime. You earn experience and spend the points you get on upgrades and some new moves. Some of these attacks are helpful. Most of them I really didn't find myself using too much, but I'll get a bit more into that later. Every character caps out at level 10, and the move I'll be using the most you have to be at least level 8 to buy. You can get better bows that shoot better arrows, shields that symbolize more health, and some insta-kill moves you can use on different enemies. Pretty standard stuff for the genre. So now we get the first level where we have a choice. Who do you wish to play as? You have Legolas, who plays with more light and finessed attacks with long range. Gimli hits super hard and at his best can break shields with simple light attacks. And Aragorn, who is in between as kind of the brawler type. He's strong enough to break shields and good enough of a marksman to hit his target, but it might take a few more hits than Gimli with his sword and a few more arrows than it would with Legolas. Taking some creative liberties, this level is the journey to the door of Moria after the Fellowship turns around from the pass of Caradhras. Some of the dialogue is a little strange.
We could pass through the mines of Moria. My cousin Balin will give us a royal welcome.
He's talking about how good of an idea it would be to go to the mines of Moria as they are on their way to the mines of Moria. Why are you saying this right now? And if this is how rough and tumble things are on the way there, I would not hold out much hope for your cousin being okay, my guy. So as you get closer, the creature guarding the door starts to make its presence more and more known by dragging enemies under the water. And that brings us to what I guess would be our first boss fight. whatever comrade you had on this journey, which I believe can only be either Aragorn or Gimli, the boss reaches out a tentacle and absolutely slaps the shit out of them. They are out cold. I actually remember fighting this boss in a demo at an EB Games. I just remember thinking, like, this is going on my Christmas list. This is awesome. Remember EB Games? Remember KB Toys? It whips tentacles at you, you parry, you cut it off, and it shows its head for you to use projectiles. Doing this as Gimli is kind of funny because when you wade into the water to go hit the tentacles, it's up to his neck. Good luck swinging the axe, my guy. The next level is what I call the farm. It's just a big old fight, and it's a great level for getting a bunch of XP to buy the really good attacks. This is the fight in Balin's tomb, which, yep, perfect set piece for a level. The room floods with orcs and goblins. There's no particular timer or pressure cooker pulling you along. It's a fun level that helps you get used to crowded fights because there are going to be a lot of these. Of course, this is when the cave troll comes in and joins the fray. Once you get him down to a certain amount of health, a second phase is going to begin. And in a quick little cutscene, as you gain some distance to get some higher ground on him, he turns around and makes this face. I don't know what it is about this face. It touches my heart directly. If this game was a few years newer, I think this face would actually be a meme. It would mean something beyond the context to which it is confined. This face is the kind of goofiness I welcome with open arms. I mean, look at it. Just look at it. It is perfect. He is perfect. So this boss battle becomes a ranged fight. He whips chains at you while some other baddies come in and try to take you out from the side. You can hide behind some of the pillars, but after a couple of times, the chains get stuck on the pillars, so he yanks them and they break. You can only hide for so long. You've got to come out and time your projectiles pretty well. The other baddies have a way of showing up at, like, the worst possible time. Be grateful for them, though, because if you mess up, they have a habit of dropping some health. But taking them out ends the level, and the cutscene carries us to the next big action sequence. And again, it's one that totally makes sense. We're at Amon Hen. This is the site of the final battle in Fellowship of the Ring. It's got a little bit of a pressure cooker going, but I could probably count on one hand how many times this level ever did me in, if at all. You essentially just got to kill 60 baddies. Okay, I don't know what I did. I talked to texted. My script says you essentially have to kill 60 daddies. You kill 60 baddies, and the head honcho's a pretty quick boss fight. The idea is to go save Sean Bean. Sadly, that's just not possible in any reality. After you've done some damage to Lurch, he tosses his bow aside and picks up a sword, and he is ready to rumble. I don't know why, but this little jaw twitch that he has when he throws the bow away to pick up a sword against you is just a nice little detail. Little things went a long way back then, back before we could see the veins running down everybody's arms in 48K resolution. So you have a boss fight with Lurch and send him and Boromir, who to my dying day I will debate is a good man and not a villain, to their early respective graves. So he is deadzo. I was cracking up through this level because I don't know what they did to the microphone setting for Orlando Bloom's recording session, but he just constantly sounds like he's like way too close to the microphone.
We must defeat these Uruk-hai for Frodo to escape.
Or they just like cranked the gain on the mic because it's like they told him for every line read, make it like you're talking over a commotion. Viggo continues recounting events to Miranda, and the events of the Two Towers begin with our heroic trio headed into Fangorn Forest. While they saw absolutely zero combat there in the films, it's quite a different story here. As a matter of fact, you basically start this level off surrounded by enemies. We also meet a new type of cave troll, which we're just going to go ahead and say has a bit of questionable built-in behavior. Over the course of this campaign, there are some checkpoints where you've got to kill every enemy in the vicinity in order to proceed. This new cave troll is one of those checkpoints. They don't take any arrow damage, so you'll be putting yourself at risk every time you want to go in for a hit. This level also introduces us to the Berserkers, and I'm not gonna lie, they are tenacious little buggers. They swing hard and fast, and you have to hit them immediately after you block them. These goblins with the axes get me too. They just keep spinning and hacking and hitting you with the axes, and it just it adds up. There are not a lot of enemy types in the game, but the few that there are all really well designed. Now, throughout the gameplay, I'm sure you've noticed this little meter in the bottom left-hand side. It takes some hits to get it all the way up, and it drains pretty rapidly. If you've got it close to all the way full and you take one hit, it is gonna reduce drastically. But if you manage to fill it up all the way, you'll go into a powered up mode where all of your kills are counted as perfect and you are substantially stronger. It's a huge help in the later levels, especially the last one. This level ends with a 2-troll fight where you can just kind of run back and forth and hit each one in the dick until they both go down. Then we get what might be my favorite transition from CG to live action in the entire game.
Many paths converged.
Going through the game, you'll notice there are some extras you can unlock, photo galleries, and even some interviews with the actors who came back to do the voices. For a pre-YouTube era, these were pretty fun to see. The next level definitely had some creative liberties taken. In the Two Towers, the army of Uruk-hai are said and shown to be sweeping across Rohan and laying waste to any human settlements they come across. This is the Westfold, which is a pretty funny choice for a level. We see this in the movie, but the game decides, you know what? Aragorn was there, and so was Gandalf, which kind of makes him asking,
Where was Gondor when the Westfold fell?
feel a little hollow when its rightful king, by player choice, can be there when the Westfold falls. But hey, we need levels. Away from the hustle and bustle of having 20 enemies covering everybody at all times in Balin's tomb, we finally get to see Gandalf lay the smack down uninhibited. And it sparked a bit of hope that maybe he would actually be a playable character in this game. Sadly, Gandalf is not a playable character in this game, but next year. So he opens his door for you and beams out to go help the other villagers. And no, your eyes do not deceive you. There are 2 character models for all of the villagers. The more that the Uruk-hai army take out, the more this meter goes right on down. Somehow I remembered that for this part, there's an enemy outside here that'll cause you to lose a chunk of the meter if you don't catch him, and he doesn't spawn unless you go all the way inside this building. Clearly I had a bit of trouble. Pressing on, I guess this guy's just not lucky, because you can't save him. And Gandalf shows up to help us out with another wave of enemies. After that is, you guessed it, another wave of enemies who throw some of the villagers into a burning building, and no, I did not edit this. This is the recording they use for the villagers. Save them, and you win. Next up is the Plain of Rohan, which introduces some explodey enemies that light themselves up to try to take you out. You have this guy to help you with the mission, who we see lose a couple of his comrades right in front of his eyes. Behold, his sadness. Those head shakes convey a sea of emotion. The secrecy of Saruman's operation at Helm's Deep to use explosives to blow up the wall was a pretty important plot point, and having any of our heroes know about it in advance would have been really problematic. But we need levels. Unfortunately, I kicked the bucket partway through this level, and this guy just kind of decided to make sure the job is finished.
I think this one's still breathing.
Not too much further, and you work your way across a small lake and blow up the entire assembly line of gunpowder with a single arrow. Or you can just whack it. Arrows don't ignite gunpowder, but we need levels. The captain tells his soldiers that they're gonna head to Helm's Deep, and I like to think that they walk the entire way there like this. The next level takes us a little closer to the movies. It's a super short level fighting the Warg Riders. You fight 2 riders, 2 more riders, then 2 more riders, and then a boss. I'll give you one guess what the boss is. Yeah, the boss is a rider who summons other riders. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be the orc goblin dudeski that Aragorn gets stuck to his warg during the fight and dragged off the cliff. Also, creative points for this move. He's not a difficult boss, and you can even just stand out of range. He won't be able to get to you. But if you're too far, you might miss your chance to get your attacks in when he's vulnerable. Kill this dude and the level's done. Super short. Unfortunately, I got him down to this much health and had to wait another cycle to take him out. I don't even know if that's a full pixel. How did that take 2 hits? The level also ends with a pretty grisly visual. Pretty gross, but at this point, my Aragorn has hit level 8. I have now unlocked the final set of attacks. It is in this level that whatever character you're playing as is now officially a terror on the battlefield. This move is Isildur's Judgment See, if you press for a speed attack, you can still be blocked by shields or clash with other blades and whatnot. A fierce attack is less likely to be blocked or avoided. So having an attack that starts with 2 fierce attacks, implements a rush that can knock enemies over, and ends with another fierce attack can quickly carry you into your perfect form. It is totally a game changer. And for these last levels, the Bane of Saruman is a game changer too. This move insta-kills Berserkers and Uruk-hai. Each level, 2, 4, 6, and 8, comes with a Bane move. Each one is basically an immediate kill of a different enemy type. But easily my favorite thing about the Bane moves is that when you use them, all of the fighting wherever you are just completely stops. It's like they gotta take a second to just admire the artistry at work. To use the Bane moves, you block and immediately push A and then R. But if you do it wrong, you stab the ground.
And then you die.
Now, even if only part of your attack lands when you're doing a combo move, you still get the meter build. So let's say I want to do Isildur's Judgment. If only that first fierce attack lands and it kills the enemy, but I finish the move, I still get a chunk of meter build. So here we go. The Battle of Helm's Deep begins, and you fight on top of the walls. Enemies are gonna plant ladders continuously as they mount their assault, and you have to run back and forth and up and down to kick the ladders down and take out all the enemies you can. There's a little pressure cooker mechanism up in the corner telling you if the walls are gonna be overrun, and if it gets to be too much, you lose. Try again. For the most part, I think this level is actually pretty fun, although I do think it was a weird choice to play the Nazgul theme for this fight, but okie doke. Also, I just want to give a special shout out to the voiceover work done by Viggo Mortensen. He sounds like he is back on set for these line reads.
Take down that ladder before we're overrun!
At various points in the level, the Uruk-hai commander gives absolutely zero and orders the troops to fire explosive crossbow bolts at you on the wall. This drastically reduces the amount of enemies on the wall you'll have to face, and definitely does more damage to the Uruk-hai than it does to you. It's definitely more of a blessing than a curse. As the level progresses, the enemy types you fight get stronger and stronger. We start with common goblins and orcs, which were never at this battle, but okay. And it works its way up to the Uruk-hai and Berserkers. So the Bane moves here are super helpful.
Then I died and the entire level started over.
Yeah, some levels are really stingy with the checkpoints. Some have none. More on that. So I powered through and finally get to the end where the elves concentrate on firing their arrows across the wall and take out all of the enemies. And then Orlando Bloom gives my favorite line read of this entire game.
I got 19.
Then we are level.
It's like they told him to talk over the heavy rain, even though the rain stopped. Level is the Breached Wall, and it is total bull. You know how way back when they had to make games really hard because now that you weren't playing them at the arcade, they needed to last? That is what this level feels like. Even at max stats, this level can eat my entire ass. The idea is that you need to protect this door from being broken into by enemies as they come at you in waves. The women and children are fleeing into the mountains, and the idea is that you need to protect this door that leads to them from being broken into by enemies as they come at you in waves. It largely starts with just these explodey guys. They only take 1 arrow to kill, and no, there is really not much you can do to speed through this. The enemies are going to show up when they want. And some of them will only concentrate on you, and some of them will only concentrate on the door. Now, it sounds simple, doesn't it? You might think this level won't be so tough. And that's when the game drags you down by the scruff, looks you dead in the eye, and says,
You in particular.
I mean, look, all of these enemies are practically dying off screen. Even when the enemy does get past you and start hacking at the door, it doesn't really look like it's gonna be that tough, because it doesn't take a whole lot of damage. And they drop a ton of health and a ton of arrows, but look at this garbage, dude. It adds up, and what the do you even do here? I could try to do some of the Bane moves, but if I mess up, I am absolutely dead-so. And hey, check it out. One of the explodey guys just decides to end it all for everybody. And guess what? Back to the beginning I go. 5 straight minutes with 0 checkpoints. It could be worse. It does get worse. Keep pressing on, and finally, the enemy forces roll in a catapult. And then they send in a troll, while shooting you with archers, while sending explodey guys to blow up the door. Getting ludicrous, isn't it? Defeat the troll, and this guy orders the catapult to be rolled into the water at the edge of the gate to launch a final assault. While that happens, a whole horde of troops defend the catapult, and another group is sent directly at you. And guess what happens if you lose? 11 minutes in. That's right.
0 checkpoints.
I mean, watch this clip. If you've played this game before, you know what I'm feeling when you see this. The level is about 12 minutes long, and no matter how well you play it, it never moves along faster than that. The rage that this level is capable of inducing has not aged one bit.
I got 2 more shots. No f***ing way. This level continues to be the bane of this game's existence. Replay mission. Mission.
You have to replay the entire mission.
No way. I can't do it again right now. I can't do it again. I cannot do it again right now.
When you do beat this level and hell has successfully frozen over, we hit the final level, the Hornburg. Now this is the courtyard just outside of Helm's Deep's furthest inward corridors. And hey, guess what you gotta do? Funny enough though, I actually really like this level. No checkpoints, of course, but the level is not so long that trying again is an outright chore. Depending on who you're playing as, someone asks for your help in a quick fight, you take out some archers, and if you keep yourself and the gate standing for long enough, the final boss descends upon us. 2 trolls. What do you want, a Balrog? Get out of here. But even if you do defeat the trolls, one of them just whoopsie daisies and falls into the gate, taking it down and opening the path for the enemy's army. But our guys have officially drawn swords together, and the army has been held back long enough for Gandalf to bring the Rohirrim down upon the invading forces. Then we get something I don't think we've really seen before? I certainly haven't seen it since. The scene between Aragorn and Gandalf plays out, and we get this.
And so the weapon of the enemy is moving towards Mordor. In the hands of a hobbit, each day brings it closer to the fires of Mount Doom. Sauron fears you, Aragorn.
Yeah, the next game was announced with a release window at the end of the game. I mean, teasing the next installment is not a foreign concept in modern gaming, but getting a release window for Insomniac's Spider-Man 3 at the end of 2 would be nuts.
The final chapter.
That just doesn't happen. But you know, that could be a good way to get a new wave of purchases. I mean, imagine it. Patch your game to tease the release date of the next installment after you beat the final boss again? You would get a whole wave of players rebuying or replaying your game again on different platforms. That could be something. It's small, but I got the hype train rolling for me a full year before it would even come out. I don't see why this can't be a thing. Not that I'm expecting anybody high up enough to make decisions to see this and implement the idea, but if it happens, remember me. At this point, the game gives us a bonus stage, the Tower of Orthanc. A wave of enemies comes in, you take them all out, and you move up a floor. Simple as that. There are 20 floors in total that throw different challenges at you. Hey, do you still like this song? It starts with simple enemies and works its way up to Uruk-hai and trolls and berserkers. My first run ended about as sadly as it possibly could, on floor 20. So I gave it another shot, So I gave it another shot, So I gave it another shot, and I made it to the top. And lying in wait at the top is Saruman himself, who you don't fight.
You fool. It is time for you to stop. You did not believe a ragtag ranger could contend with my will, did you? I am beyond your power.
Okay. After beating the Tower of Orthanc, I kinda didn't notice that this happened. We will get to that in a second, as it basically just completely cracks the game wide open. I got Isildur as an unlockable bonus fighter, and then I went back to replay some of the levels with the other characters so I could check off all the boxes. And then I went back and replayed most of the levels to check off most of the boxes. Okay, now this. Yeah, just straight up. Look at that. It's busted. Game's busted. It's over. You know, you would think that this gets boring after a while, but I actually had a lot of fun coming back to this. Yeah, several of the levels have a built-in pressure cooker telling you to move your but the fighting feels pretty good. Ugh, and landing that finishing blow is so satisfying every damn time. I'll get to talking about Return of the King in the future, but if they were to repackage the Two Towers and Return of the King, combine the campaigns, update the visuals, give it like online co-op, dude, my whole generation would re-buy these games. And with 2 more Lord of the Rings stories being put to film in the years to come, why not? I had a blast going through the Two Towers. I hadn't touched it in years, and while I will never be happy about losing my save data, these are the strolls through games past that I am more than happy to retread. The game absolutely deserves to be remembered for the fun romp that it is, and it's got me hyped to go through the Return of the King all over again. The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers broke the curse of the movie game and showed us that it's possible.